This is Panda Bear and Sonic Boom.
Am I a bit... Do I look dim? Do I need to... Maybe it's just my monitor.
I think it looks all right.
Morning.
Howdy.
Hey, how's it going, Pete?
Good. You're not looking dim.
Excellent. There you go. Second eyes. It's confirmed.
It's just how my face looks, bro.
So what time is it over there, Pete?
7 o'clock, 7 in the evening.
Okay. And you
Yeah.
having some good weather?
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
It's been week after week of rolling sunshine.
It's always nice in Portugal.
Morning.
Hey, Noah.
Morning.
How's it going?
It's going good. How you doing?
It was pretty good. Can't complain.
Excellent. Congratulations.
Thank you. Really sorry about last week, guys. I think it was my fault ultimately. I kind of got my wires crossed, and just apologies for the inconvenience. Thank you for doing this again with us.
No.
Yeah, I mean-
Thank you for taking the time to talk to us.
In your defense, that
good.
is probably the best excuse that you could have to miss any interview. Sorry, I was getting married, as you know.
Exactly. No one's going to fault you for that one.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
It was a complicated process.
Welcome back to Musician and A Filmmaker, the podcast where we talk about things that are related to Animal Collective and also not. Today, we're joined by the guy whose song title we stole for the name of the podcast, Panda Bear, Noah Lennox. Welcome back to the show. And we're also joined for the first time by, I consider, a legendary producer and musician, Sonic Boom, a.k.a. Pete Kember. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for having us, guys.
Thank you. Hey, say, how did you get the Studio Sparks poster?
Oh, we had Lucas on the show, and he sent us some free stuff.
Cool. Nice.
Yeah, Lucas really hooked us up with those Lucky Charm pendants, which I got to say, actually, recently, since I've got it, my luck has really increased. So it works.
Hell yeah.
I was going to have him send me one, but then I ended up going to one of the listening parties, and I just got one without having to deal with international post. So good times. All this is leading up to the fact that we're talking about this album, A Question of When, a question mark of when. Second by you guys as a duo, at least in terms of primary artists, but I believe this is probably your fourth album as a collaborator in general. I guess fifth if you count Just a Little Piece of Me on Pete's album.
The album's been out for a while here, and I think like one of the big things to talk about with this album is the IRL, not URL concept. So we've gone a little bit into seeing how this works. How are you guys feeling about this approach to the album now that it's been released in real life?
Good, I think. Hasn't been... I guess we'll see where it goes, but so far so good, I think both of us would say. I mean, for me, it was really about trying to encourage people getting together in next to each other, which I thought maybe we'd kind of gotten away from a little bit in a way that I figured was maybe detrimental. So I was really into the spirit of the thing, kind of hopefully encouraging people to do that.
I know it has been people sending me messages after the listening parties, and we were talking with someone earlier about the same thing. People used to form bands after meeting someone else who liked the same sort of music as them at a record store. It was sort of like, you live in my area, you like the same sort of music. And I guess that's, for sure online you're going to come across people who like the same music. And you can, if you know where to look, I'm sure you can find them. The chances of them living in the next street to you, slightly reduced, I would say. It's kind of nice as well I understand, unfortunately, and I don't really blame people for it, but some people think that all music from all time should be for free and available to them. And I see comments online about this album where some people are just like, not even like, if it's not going to be on streaming, if I can't get it for free, I don't want to know. It's like, okay, that's fine. And that's kind of the way it is. But you're also going to be one of those people on streaming that never gets to the end of an album, and you'll never have that full experience. And you might know God Only Knows, but you don't know Pet Sounds, or you might know a couple of tracks, but you don't immerse yourself in what was it, put out as a heartfelt, strong artistic statement, and wasn't really meant to be consumed in an ever decreasing slope as you went into the album. They expected you put the needle on side one, that you would get to the end, and then put the needle on side two and get to the end. And it's just a whole different way of consuming music. And there might be something said for, I hope culturally, might be the people who interact with music like that are the sort of people that formed bands before. And I don't think it was the casual consumer that got so. I think people, you liked the Velvet Underground. You probably sought out all the Velvet Underground records and absorbed yourself in it and really sort of was interested in the whole picture rather than just Waiting for My Man and, Pale Blue Eyes or something. So, yeah, it's nice to encourage that sort of interaction, albeit on a diminished scale.
I think you're right, though. Like, there is something valuable about that experience of listening to an album the whole way through that I think is lost these days with the streaming system. But it's awesome that you guys did this, because the listening parties, like you guys kind of played like matchmakers in this, because you're getting people together that already have a common interest, which is you guys. And so, like, I went to both of the Toronto listening parties, and I ended up meeting a person I've never met before. Shout out to John. And super pleasant guy. We swapped email addresses, and hey, a friendship might be blossoming here thanks to the listening party. If we were streaming it independently from our homes, we would have never met.
No. Yeah.
Very cool.
And a bunch of people sent me messages after those parties with similar stories, and so I think on that level it was successful. But it's also trying to, of course, engage with other people, but also with record stores. That was something we also wanted to encourage.
I love the fact that you have it on the three formats: the vinyl, the cassette, and the CD. I have all of them, and I want to try this experiment where I kind of put them all on at the same time and have like a trifecta of all the different fidelities hitting me at once. I don't know what to expect, but I think I need either more arms or other people to assist me, because all the devices are too far away from me to press the buttons at the same time. However, my question to you is, do you have a preferred format between those three?
I think for this one, because it's different based on the record, like Person Pitch I always thought of as a CD. Buoys I always thought of as a digital file, I have to say. And this one, I think it's vinyl for me, just because I really like the artwork, and the insert I think is really cool with the lyrics on it. And when we were doing that, I was always thinking of it as a big thing. But what about you, Pete?
I mean, the vinyl is always the the full spread, isn't it? I mean, the cassette's really cute as well. I mean, it's really, and we used the old no plastic. It was a cassette single format originally, that sleeve, yeah. And with the dual colored cassette and everything, I don't know. I think they're all Julian House, who did the put together all the artwork. I think he did a really awesome job on it. And I love the multicolored thing, and no one's really done that for a while. I mean, there were bands, OMD with Architecture and Morality, that definitely came in 3 or 4 different color sleeves. It was sort of an unconscious thing. And then once we decided to do it, I was like, I wonder if when was the last time anyone actually did that, where they released all 3 formats, but changed the color of the sleeve. And it might be in the 80s, the last time anyone did anything like that.
I really like the orange colorway on the CD. That's my favorite of the color-wise, it's my favorite.
I like them all, and I love the fact that they're different. Definitely like adds to the whole sort of wanting to collect all of them aspect. And I think that definitely like the fidelity is different on all of them, so there is a reason to get them all outside of just the packaging differences. I was really actually impressed with the cassette, because I feel like the sounds on the album kind of harken back to like an older time, and when it's played through the cassette, I feel like it just kind of adds that little extra, vintage sort of sprinkling on top of it. And the CD is perfect for the car, obviously, but the vinyl is kind of like the crown gem.
I mean, let's talk about the music itself, man. There's so much to talk about with this album, because
there is.
I want to get into the good stuff. I'm sorry, Pete, but I want to give you guys even more praise. So I guess I really want to start by talking about how the sampling is different on this album than on Reset, because there are some very clear samples, like Revive Him has Kathy's Clown by the Everly Brothers, which is a great song.
Another sample.
But not exactly a sample, right? An interpolation is, I guess, the correct term. When you guys put out the single Graveyard and Lucky Charm, I think there was sort of an expectation based on those two that the rest of the LP was going to kind of be like Reset Part 2. But I don't think that's what you guys wanted to set out to do in the first place. I think it was just more of a general collaboration. And so whenever I did hear the full thing, I was kind of surprised that it went its own direction and it feels more like, I don't want to say mature, but everything kind of feels like it has more room to breathe, and the way that the sounds are layered, it comes more subtly than sort of in your face like with the first album. So I guess my question is, like, did you have a sort of different direction in mind when you set out to start the new album? Or was it just kind of like, we had fun doing Reset, let's tinker with that, and then maybe we'll kind of stumble into something else?
I don't think we had much of a clear vision for what it was going to be beyond not wanting to repeat the first one, especially kind of knowing we were going to make stuff based on beats that Pete made in a really similar fashion to Reset. Although, like you said, not exactly samples anymore, but still a similar kind of like framework for the thing. So we had conversations really early on about ways in which we could maybe distinguish it from Reset. And once Pete recorded it was really just a sound check that Mary did here in Sintra, which is about 30 minutes from where I'm at. She kind of just improvised over a bunch of the stuff that Pete had. I don't think we didn't have songs yet at that point. Pete started building the stuff with arrangements of stuff that she had recorded that day in that short window there. And that started to feel like it was kind of moving to a place that felt distinguished. And I feel like from there, and sort of inspired by that, we started looking for tones and instruments that felt like maybe that were stuff that we really liked, that maybe we felt like weren't stuff that you heard all the time. And it was kind of gradual, sort of one by one. So I feel like pedal steel was an early thing that we talked about. And then I think it was Pete's idea to do a lot of the steel drum stuff. But any way we could sort of inject a kind of like really juicy flavor into the thing kind of immediately with something that would kind of make it feel like it was really had sort of a different character to it. Was sort of how we kind of went about doing things.
And also knowing that, like, the harp, it comes with this idiom. The instrument itself comes with this sort of like lullaby dream quality. That's what it's sort of associated with, and that's the way it's usually often used in film and stuff like in Disney and stuff like that. So that obviously came with a whole load of vibe attached with it straight away, which is always pretty awesome. And the same with the steel drum. It's kind of like it's the sound of coconuts hanging from palm trees and waves crashing on beaches, and there's something about that steel drum sound that just the sun shines out of it. So you can imagine and pedal steel as well, it has this incredible space, has this sort of outer space thing, even though most of the music it was used in isn't particularly spacey. It just has this sort of transcendental, time travel-y sort of feel to it. So,
or yodeling, feeling like all these sounds have kind of like an inherent baggage to them, and I say that in a positive way. It sort of brings with it it sort of sparks all these things in your mind beyond just kind of the visceral experience of hearing the sound. Like a seagull, when you hear a seagull, you always kind of immediately are transported by the sea. And all these sounds I think we sort of felt intrinsically had that character to them.
It's the same with using, I think, things like on Be the Bridge with the waves, the waves crashing and stuff. As Noah says, it already has this sort of energy to the sound that is really nice. Or a Formula One race, or police sirens, they'll bring some heavyweight vibe with them, you know, and those the sound effect parts tended to be on the backing loop things that we did. I sent to Noah, and I think often it was because it had sirens or because of the Formula One race that he picked them out of, you know, the many more loops that were available. I think it sort of just brings a lot of vibe to sort of inspire you right from the start.
I love the sound design on Be the Bridge, especially just because it feels like, I don't know, it just brings me back to the Grim Reaper days in college of just playing that record over and over. It has that sort of like, kind of like half broken hip hop, but also like very dense sound to it. So it was, I mean, I know you're not always, Noah, you're famously always looking towards the future, but it's cool to sort of be able to pull little bits and pieces of the past to kind of give it a new sort of expression.
I would say kind of impossible to avoid too.
Right.
As much as you said, as much as I'm trying to kind of find someplace new, there's always going to be, I think it's impossible to kind of not bring your kind of journey with you in a way. That sounds really corny, but you know what I'm saying.
No, I know it's
real. Yeah, no, it's. I mean, that's what makes you guys you, right? Like you have to carry yourself with you, and while you do all these new things, and on the topic of new things, and you know, we were talking about the steel drum. This is a new instrument that you had not played, Noah, right, prior to this album.
Yeah, I'd never taken a go at it. It shows.
I think it sounds great. I was curious, like, are there other instruments that you maybe have had your sights on that you're like trying to try and that you're interested in trying, or maybe even like an instrument that you've tried and you're just like, I just cannot do this thing, and just like, you know, giving up?
Yeah, pedal steel was definitely one that for a long time I've wanted one. I'm not sure I'd be any good at it, but and it does seem difficult to play, but I'd love to give it a go.
Any new instruments on the horizon for you, Pete, that you've had your eyes on?
I mean, I like weird, you know, I'm always often looking at things that they release in Japan that don't get released anywhere, like the Vocaloid keyboard that we use on the album that sings in the anime. Basically, it's a keyboard that sings in an anime character voice. It sings the high lines on Lucky Charm, and does a bit of stuff on something like Dreaming as well. I mean, those instruments are always kind of really interesting to me because I know hardly anyone else is going to go out of their way to import this thing from Japan, basically. And I'm always interested in, instruments that have a vocal heritage are always really interesting to me. When things are trying to sound like a voice or like a human voice, that's always really interesting to me. So
you love vocoders.
I do. I did buy. We didn't manage to use it. I did buy a synthesized Koto, which is really cool. But it doesn't have a regular keyboard on it. It has all the notes on there, but they're not where you expect them to be. So there's a bit of a learning curve with it. But maybe that's something for the future. But yeah.
And it's interesting, too, that you mentioned sort of bringing some of your past with you, because I feel like there is a bit of soundscape design on this that is similar to Reset. Like there is kind of the go-on sounds kind of appear here and there throughout the album. So was that a conscious decision to sort of connect the two albums with those sounds?
Well, that effect from the harmonizer is from an Eventide H910. It's from an early 80s. It was a super effect back then. It was a very fancy, expensive effect. And you can
hear it on Electric Avenue, right?
Yeah. You can, a bunch of Grace Jones thing, and My Jamaican Guy, Electric Avenue, particularly the extended version of it. I mean, it's probably on a lot of records in very different ways. And I discovered it because MGMT had one, and I'd never heard one before. And I was like, that is interesting. So they make a plugin of it now, which is what we use. But the plugin is made by Eventide, and it's very, I can't discern any difference actually from a hardware unit, which is probably about as good as you could say about any plugin really. But it just has such a And I think Noah said it sounds like machines dying or something. It had this sound like it's giving up its last breath or something. We didn't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. There was some things that were really awesome. I think, well, I could still have a little touch of that in there. It's on Moth to a Flame as well, in a much more, just a few little bits of it, but there's a few little bits on there.
Is it on All Things Being Equal? I don't recall it.
Yeah, it is. It is. It often leads up. It's on, for example, it's on things like this, which we've done live together. Yeah, it is. It is on there. It's used in a slightly different way, but yeah.
But you hadn't started using it on Grim Reaper, for example. Like, it's not, you weren't using it back then.
No, I didn't have access to it. Unfortunately, if they had had one in the Moosh, we would have used it. Because I'd already come across some with MGMT before that. But
shout out to Moosh.
They were quite a rare, in the Moosh in Lisbon.
Correct me if I'm wrong. You guys were saying that when you did Reset, like the album sequencing was more or less in the order of the way that the songs were written. Was that like a similar thing for this album?
Is that true? Can't remember.
Pretty much it was. Yeah, it was, because it just made sense as the tracks were coming through in late 2020, early 2021 in the lockdown. It just seemed to sort of roll out. It can't be exactly right, because I think I did my songs later on, and then it had a couple of them get inserted into, so it's broken up with them the thing. But
Never Given In was the first one on this one for sure.
Yeah. So it seemed to point the direction a little bit from that. I think it was the scene that it grew from a little bit.
I can't remember what track it is.
Is that the Twin Peaks theme song that you're sampling in Never Given In? Or is it just a coincidence? Okay.
Yeah, it's just a coincidence.
Yeah, they line up pretty well. It's like literally one semitone off, so... I don't know. That's the fun of this album, is kind of like trying to pinpoint the samples, because you're not just coming out and being like, it's, Save the Last Dance for Me. There you go. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. That was my only theory. And then my only other, like, is this a reference was Something Like Dreaming being the We Will Rock You drums. Again, probably not intentional.
It's the same beat. I mean, stomp, stomp, clap. I think Queen officially have been credited with owning Stomp Stomp Clap, but of course that beat's been around since the dinosaurs. So
no, I'm pretty sure it was them in 1975 or whatever. No one had ever done that.
First person to use Stomp Stomp Clap.
We'll have to get in the time machine to find out.
Stomp Stomp Clap. That's the big one.
But going back to sort of sequencing of the album, like I find it very, very symmetrical, this album, because it's got the side A and side B, same amount of tracks on either side, and the way that even lyrically, the lyric "Keep Trying" appears on both A Question of When and in Graveyard. Was this like intentional or just a happy accident?
Well, lyrically, I've been doing that a lot. On Sinister Grip, there's a lot of like connections between the songs, and that was certainly like a choice by me for sure.
Somehow those songs are sort of they're strangely sort of sister songs in a way. I mean, they're the two bangers, I would say, from the record. So they definitely have some some connection like that.
For sure.
And I think Be the Bridge is the banger.
I would agree. I love that track. Like the smile on my face when I first heard that track, like it was literally the expression ear to ear doesn't even cover it. It's when you hear like a song that just perfectly like works for your sensibilities and you're just like, oh. And sometimes I think, like, I don't know if I'm alone in this, but when you consume a lot of music, sometimes you get a bit worried that might not happen because you've just over-consumed music.
Yeah.
But then when you find that little... This happens with my camera every now and again.
It's okay.
Sorry, there we go. All right, there we go.
We run a professional set here.
Professional, yes. When you do find that, though, it feels like that diamond in the rough, and I like definitely got that with Be the Bridge. As soon as I heard it, I was like, everything about this is working. So good, especially in the car. Oof.
It's a good car song for sure. It's a better car song than, I guess, the title track, but I don't know. I know a lot of people complain about the police siren. I personally don't care.
Yeah.
Well, you know what Greg said when the non-siren version surfaced online. He said that version's for cowards, and I would agree.
That's true.
I mean, I like you guys. I didn't really think twice about it, but it's it doesn't feel good that people are, it's distressing for people. But I can't say that I like even registered it as a sound that would be. But there's a lot of like. I'm reminded. I did a remix for Paramore once. And I remember seeing comments under the YouTube video where people were like, "This isn't even a song." I was like, I think my sort of like perspective on stuff doesn't seem to be like average. So stuff like the siren is just sort of another example. I feel like we're on like out of touch with kind of reality or something.
I noticed when I live a couple of streets back from the main road here, but if the siren goes by, and Portugal, the United States, the UK, they all use the same sort of sirens. Other countries, France, Germany, which we were just in recently, not. Totally different type of siren sounds. So it has a different impact in those places. It might be closer to it's kind of the benign impact of that song, but I have to say I knew it would be slightly. I knew it was. I mean, that song is, I think that the centerpiece for the whole record, and I think it has a sense of urgency about it that I think's right for these times, and I also think it's going to be a sound we're not going to hear any less of. So I think I might even go so far as to think say that sound might define this era we're in at the moment. And I think that's why in the United States, where you have ice around, for example, I can see why it's fucking distresses people. And actually at one of the listening parties, when it got to that track, they thought the cops had turned up, so they turned the playback off, so they thought the cops were coming. But I did know it was, I was aware of that. But it's also musically the way, and also with the yodeling and the yodel style singing, which is siren-like in its own way, really. It was just like really interesting to hear, Noah singing with the siren. It was really, I think it's really fresh. So,
ambulances also have sirens.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, like when you're making these sounds, Pete, and then you're sending them off to Noah. What's the process like for you, Noah, when you get these? Do you find that you click immediately and you're like, oh, I got this melody? Or are you like listening to these loops on repeat for like hours and hours and hours? And are there multiple melodies and then you find one that's just like the best out of the batch?
It's kind of both. So I think Pete knows how it's going to go. So he'll send me like 3 times as many as we end up using. And just the ones that I really kind of have an idea for quickly, I'll just kind of start going on it immediately. And usually within a day or two, I'll send them what I got, and then we just kind of keep going like that.
I actually made, but for these, I guess originally there were about, I'm guessing, but I think maybe about 12 to 15 Mary Lattimore loops, in which I think these 4 or 5. Mm-hmm. And then it seemed to, I felt that Noah had found all the ones he liked. So I went back in and made a whole nother batch afterwards to try and create some more stuff and see, the ideal thing is, of course, that someone hears something and knows what they can do with it. And I've sort of learned a little bit from sending stuff back and forwards that if it has a melody line on it, it almost certainly won't pick it. Because it sort of defines too much about it, I think. So I stopped doing that. So I stopped sending any that would have any reference to an original melody line or something like that. For me, it's about creating stuff obviously that I am stimulated by, and things that I think that he might appeal to him.
I can speak for myself, and I'm sure a lot of fans of your work, Noah, that you have the ability to make catchy melodies without necessarily retreading ground that you've already walked on. Like, do you personally think that that's a gift that you have, or is this like a finely honed skill that you've been working on with time?
I don't know how to answer that.
I'll answer it for you.
I just I sort of follow my nose with the thing. Like I said, if I hear something that he sent and I start kind of singing along with it, then I just kind of keep going. And there's usually, with the melodies and the lyrics, it's the same for me, where I'll find like a piece of it or like a hook or something like that, and then the rest is sort of just editing and kind of building around that one idea, or maybe it's like a passage in the song that I that just kind of feels like it's got some juice to it. But there's always like a big chunk of it that just sort of comes out via inspiration or improvisation, and then it's just sort of about molding the thing and like kind of chipping away at it until it's sort of the best version of itself. As far as the gifts and all, I don't know.
I think it's the finely owned skill. There's a gift then, no question. But I think that because Noah's worked on so many different types of music, even with Animal Collective, you could say he's worked on various different types of music, most of them undefinable by genre, I have to say, which is always a really good thing. But also he does, a lot of the remix work he does it's right across the board with the types of music that he's working in and trying to, do his thing in. And I think Noah has a very natural, you only have to, if we have to do a bass part or a keyboard part, or it's usually minutes. Within minutes, he's found something that I'm like, yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, there's only 2 chords, so it's not that hard. It's not rocket science.
There's still a lot of ways to go, and you say that. But like with Reset, where I was sending the loops, and I knew what the loops were from. Of course I did, because, they'd come from my record collection. But Noah didn't necessarily, even if he knew the songs, once had something dislocated like that. Even people that know 3 Steps to Heaven by Eddie Cochran don't necessarily recognize it and getting to the point. And so it was really interesting to me, because I knew what people had done on top of those sort of songs before. And it was really interesting to hear a totally different perspective and how different something could be. The Drifters one, Living in the After, say The Last Dance for me, is a really good example of that. So, although I will say that is one that did have the melody on it that he picked, but it had the string melody on it.
Yeah.
But it was so different when he sent me that. Sometimes it takes me like a day or two to get my head around it, because it's like so like outside of anything I could imagine. It's a really awesome experience to, I have to say, I think it really, it was one of the major things that really helped me get through the whole pandemic thing, was getting these postcards back from Noah that was I felt summing up what I felt was probably zeitgeist that everyone was feeling. This is the first time on this planet where everyone's been pretty much sat on the same naughty step. We're all pretty much on the same page globally. I don't know when else that ever happened in the history of humanity. So it was really interesting hearing these pronouncements from the Oracle, is kind of how I think about it. It's still left there for you to actually figure out exactly what it's saying. But I knew from talking to him probably what he was talking about, and also knowing, Noah's general sense, I can usually tell pretty easily what he's talking about. But that's what it means to me. I never actually we never talk about it.
Never talk about it.
It doesn't really, because it doesn't really matter. That's enough. If you already bought into it with a certain belief, that's already enough. It doesn't have to be about a very fixed thing or a fixed moment. And I know often when if I do ask Noah and go, I remember when Danger came in, I was like, dude, what's fucking going on in your life, man? What the fuck's going on? And what he usually says to me when I ask him this is, I don't know. I only ever really can tell in the rearview mirror. I can go, oh yeah, I guess I was writing about that, or oh yeah, that's what that song was about. But at the time, it's just instinctive, it seems. So it's a really fun process, I have to say.
I also think I've had a lot of practice working on Dave's stuff. I've been thinking a lot about Dave recently, and just I think he's a huge inspiration and influence on my stuff. And for at least the first like 7 or 8 years of doing AC, it was always kind of trying to find ways into his songs and trying to find ways of making his songs sort of the best version that they could be. Trying to find kind of pockets in what he was doing that might make sense. And I think I just sort of developed like a toolbox for doing that sort of thing. And I think that's helped me a lot over time.
Well, that actually leads into my next question. I was going to ask, you guys have been making music for decades, collectively and separately. So my question is for both of you. Is there something that you take from like back in the day when you were making sort of your seminal stuff like Pete with Spaceman 3 or Noah with your disowned first album, self-titled, that like kind of whenever you're working on stuff now, you kind of pull a little trick or something when you're writing a song or tooling with some sort of instrument or synth or what have you, that you kind of think like, oh, that's where that comes from, is way back then I did that and I've just sort of kept it going now? Or is that way too specific of a question? I don't know.
So sometimes I know there are things I buy things when I see them, if I like them. If I see some sleigh bells, I pick them up and I think they sound awesome. And there was stuff we used on Reset, including some sleigh bells, which I'd had since Spaceman 3, but hadn't used them. I might have used them actually on my Sonic Boom Spectrum solo album, but hadn't used them since. And the music modem, the little music modem toy, that for some reason they made a little toy that has all the sounds of the computer hookups from a modem from the early 21st century, really, from the noughties. I mean, I don't know why they made this thing. It has no reason to exist, which means I was in straight away. It sat around waiting for, I bought it when I was working with MGMT, actually. But yeah, it sat around for 10 years before, and I was like, oh, I know it's good. So, yeah, I mean, the whole thing's a bit continuous. We also, like on Go On, it uses my Rockstar Stream with the distortion, the same one I used on Revolution and Spaceman 3 stuff. So, and I hardly have ever used that guitar since Spaceman 3, but occasionally I'm like, that's the thing. So yeah, this is the. So yeah, I keep stuff around for that.
I think you were about to say everything is a continuation of something else, and that was going to be what I was going to say, is that I feel like, to answer the question, everything feels like it's tied to something either in the past, something I've done, or something that I've heard or experienced somewhere. It all feels kind of like an evolution or a continuation of something that comes before. Hopefully it's getting better, or it's staying interesting in some way. But I think everything I do has like you don't get something from nothing, is what I'm trying to say.
For sure. Do you find that you surprise yourself sometimes, that you're able to make this stuff that's new and interesting? Like, do you listen back to it and you're like, oh, that's awesome that I managed to go in a kind of new direction?
Yeah, I mean, that's why I keep doing it day after day, is to try to have that. It's kind of chasing the dragon in a way. Like, I want to feel that thing again. That's what kind of keeps it fun. I don't know if I'd describe it as like surprising myself. Like, actually, maybe I am kind of good. It's not like that. It's more just like a feeling of satisfaction that you kind of. It's like finding something. It's like a hidden egg or something like that, is what it feels like for me.
It's always it's always about keeping it interesting, keeping it stimulating as an artist. Some artists don't need it. Some need it more than others. The Univox keyboard was another one that I've had for 20 years at least. I forget even.
And I killed it.
You put it into hospital, but it's since recovered.
Put it to sleep.
But that got its first look in ever on this album on Graveyard, and we got it out, and Noah played the keyboard and said, "Oh, it made a stupid laugh," and I was like, "Yeah, that's that keyboard. That'll make you laugh," And as soon as he laughed when he played it, I was like, "This is gonna work." I knew it. I knew once people laugh and they're like they're stimulated by the thing immediately, it means other people probably will be as well.
It's connected. The keyboard is connected to its own kind of amp, and it's really loud, and it's got this real sort of biting tone to it. So as soon as we fired it up, it was just kind of like, whoa. And that made me laugh. But it died while I was doing the Graveyard thing, and I recorded the dying, and that's what you hear at the beginning of that kind of like. That was it, sort of. That was me killing it.
That's too good for a preset.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's super appropriate for a track called Graveyard.
Yeah,
it's fixed now though. Apparently, thankfully for me.
Yeah.
Are you playing that like when you're performing these songs live?
No, it's a big piece of real estate. It's a big, heavy. It's like a little mini version of an AC30 amp. I don't know if you know what that is, but it's a pretty serious piece of kit. You wouldn't want to drag it around, and unfortunately, not. And actually, I've never seen anyone play one on stage. I've never seen one used on stage. It's quite a rare instrument. Del Shannon used it on Runaway and a couple of other tracks where the lead, this little solo, was on a clavier lead, which is a Selma version of the same instrument, effectively, and on Telstar by the Tornadoes, and actually loads of Tornadoes stuff has the Univox on it.
Mm-hmm. Pete was like, when we started thinking about doing reset shows, he very wisely suggested that we try to design it so it was as mobile and kind of cheap to get around as possible. For these songs, it's no different. And I have to say, for the PB band, that was kind of the direction I gave everybody. So there was no amps on stage, and we could travel with it really kind of lightly and easily. So yeah. Thank you for that, Pete. Salute.
Minimal impact, and just being, particularly coming out of the lockdown when it'd been on again, off again, on again, off again, on again, off again, over and over. It just made sense that we had to be able to get in fast, do it, and get out fast. Little guerrilla attacks. Mm-hmm. But like guerrilla warfare, it's very economically effective.
For sure, yeah, and I would imagine also just in terms of your psyche as well, because I mean, touring obviously comes with its hardships, and I would imagine I'm sure this has happened in Animal Collective, like certain pieces of gear just get misplaced as you're going along if you have a whole bunch.
I wouldn't say misplaced as much as I'd say stuff breaks all the time, and it's like a constant source of stress in an already super stressful kind of situation. So yeah, avoiding that is wise if you can. We
try and do it as well so that we can take everything that's critical with us actually in the cabin on the plane, and only non-critical stuff goes in the hold, because sometimes you get somewhere and your bags don't, and then if your gig's reliant on that, it's game over. So
you'd be surprised, people who don't tour, how often that happens.
Yeah.
So speaking of doing shows, I mean, I know you've mentioned a little bit about doing some shows here and there, some festivals coming up. Are there any sort of updated tour plans for maybe, let's say, North America?
We're still trying to figure that out.
It'll be next
TBD.
year. I mean, we've got a couple more shows in the UK this year. But,
yeah, we'll be this year for sure.
We only did the shows that we did this summer because they came up anyway. We weren't actually looking for the shows. and we got a few offers, and they were really nice offers for good shows. So we were like, okay, let's get, rehearse it up and go out and do these. But the plan was really always to tour next year. So we're still formulating exactly where we're going to go and all that. But yeah,
we'll be out there next year somewhere.
Now, I have a question for you, Pete. I know that you originally wrote Lucky Charm, and Noah, you ended up doing the sort of lead vocals on there. Is there a chance that we'll ever hear the Sonic Boom cut where your vocals are forefront and center, Pete?
Well, I mean, my vocals that I did are still there. The chorus is kind of like what I had basically for that. And, I mean, one of my things in general with my own music particularly is I see sometimes, if you heard what Whirlpool sounded like when I first recorded it and the backing and what happened after it was arranged around, and that's another song that really has almost nothing to it, like repeated verses and choruses. There's a couple on Reset. Every Day is the same. And it's all to do with the arrangement, really, and creating things interesting and moving. And I hadn't envisaged it was totally Noah's idea to take what had been sung in the chorus in one way and sing it again as verses. And it totally transformed the song. It would have been something else, and I don't know exactly what it would have been, because it was redefined in that moment, really. But it was really nice. It's really nice to hear someone, feel comfortable to do that within a working relationship. I think I remember saying to Noah, this is quite unusual, where you really are singing the lead. Most of the time, when someone in a band writes a song, they sing the lead on it. It's usually kind of a given. I mean, I guess maybe not with everyone, but it's usually the way it works. So it's kind of nice to be able to do that. And originally, actually, Graveyard was a track that I was going to do a vocal on, and then Noah heard it and was like, "I really like this track," and I was like, "Okay, go for it." And then really quickly, he did that one really quickly, and when he sent it me back, I was like, "Okay." That's perfect. So
I wasn't meant to be working on that one that day, and I think I was just scrolling through a bunch of the stuff that we were kind of thinking about, and I just kind of wrote the song in like an hour and recorded it really fast. I was just kind of so charged on it. I was like, "What do you think of this? I know this isn't really what we were talking about doing, but this just sort of happened today."
Yeah, it has a voice, I feel, that you've never quite. It has a sort of a personality that I don't think you've ever quite done before as well. That when it came through, it reminded me of Gene Pitney. I don't know why. He did a lot of stuff with Phil Spector, but he has a very distinctive sort of.
Is he in the Beach Boys?
He's in Mike Love's Beach Boys.
Yeah, he was in the Beach Boys. But yeah, he has a very distinctive voice, and I think he was, I might say he has a voice made for TV, actually.
Like Regis.
But it's cool. There's something really cool about it. There's something about, he has a real swagger, and that's what that song has. I think it has this sort of like, it has a lot of front to it, which I think is. Maybe it doesn't actually sound like Gene Pitney. There's just something that reminds me about his sort of projection as well.
For sure, yeah. I think that there's some really interesting, like singing styles, I guess if you could call it that, on this record that I don't know I've heard from you before, Noah. Definitely on Graveyard. I think even on A Question of When, it's maybe a little bit of a lower register than you normally do. Maybe even Something That Lasts kind of sounds a little bit like a different style that you were trying out.
I think it sounds like Elvis. Or I feel like that was sort of the inspiration on that one. Never Given In also sort of seems like a weird tone for me, but I think I was just sick that day. So it's real like raspy sounding, but
It sounded
It works though.
it is a different when it came through as the first track. I was like, oh, we're hitting G's straight away, because the way his voice sounds, that gravelly sort of voice thing, I think it's really awesome. I really like it.
Again, I feel like I'm just trying to do what makes the song the best that it can be. This is something we talk about in AC a lot. Is like you have to make the song sort of be the god. Everything else has to kind of fall beneath that if you want to kind of do it right. So I try to like just do whatever the song feels like it needs to kind of push it up a level. And sometimes the voice just feels like it should be a different kind of thing. And I guess I try to let the song sort of inspire that in a way if I can.
It has a weariness about it that I think is entirely appropriate to the song and the lyrics of the song. And I mean, obviously, the overall thrust of the song is never given in, which I think is even better with a tired voice, saying I'm tired, but you know, I'm not throwing my chips in yet, you know. So yeah, it's always really nice to hear those different type things come through. He did on Go On. He sings some lower stuff. Well, on Danger as well, there's a little bit as well where he sung in that lower tone. I think Danger was the first time I remember him doing that. And when that came through, I was like, oh, this is awesome. Hearing you sing in that low voice, which you wouldn't normally do, it's extra magic, you know. It just keeps things really interesting and fresh.
Well, P2 is singing really low, which I feel like is kind of a new territory for him in a really cool way. And I think perhaps my kind of going down there is sort of to feel like the two voices are maybe connected a little bit.
Yeah, well, it was you know, it was something that you encouraged really, but on Reset for me to sing, and I was like, I mean, singing it with you is like, it's already a pretty it's quite a mountain to climb. But I knew that the place where I would have to go was underneath it, and the sort of baritone underpinning was where there was space for it. It might be with age the only place I can sing. I've been losing my voice for the past week for no accountable reason.
I've noticed that.
Yeah.
I hope you're okay.
Yeah, I've lost part of my singing range at the moment, that's for sure. But not the baritone. So we'll see.
But I mean, talk about a sound that has baggage. Like people's voices just have so much kind of character inherently. And I think part of me suggesting that you sing a lot on Reset came from AC, actually, where when Josh really started writing and singing a lot of songs, I felt like stuff got so much better just because the album kind of takes on such a different dynamic when you have different voices in there. Not only literally his voice, but his voice in terms of like the songs he was writing. I just felt like the albums got much cooler and more varied. The more kind of voices were being thrown into the mix.
Speaking of vocal ranges and maybe not having the same as it used to be, I don't think we've heard you sing as high, Noah, since the Cheap Treat remix, the Eric Copeland song. Can you still sing that high, or is that like a pocket in time?
Well, actually, I didn't sing that high because it was melodined.
Ah.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah, a little secret. Yeah,
that is the
like,
secret sauce.
It's all pitched up. It might have been an accident when I did it, but in Melodyne, it was all kind of went up an octave, and I thought it sounded like Bronsky beat, and I thought it sounded cool. Or I guess I felt like it was like a special thing for Eric. I hoped.
Well, don't be afraid to go full, 100 gecs next time. Just way beyond where anyone can even tell what you're trying to say.
I feel like there was an era kind of sung Tanya's like softest voice, I guess I'm thinking of. And before that a little bit where I would sing really, I think as sort of a contrast to Dave's stuff, because his voice really cuts and I want it to be sort of like a floaty kind of thing over top of that. So I used to sing, I did a lot of falsetto and it was real kind of light and wispy. And then I kind of got into a more throaty, sort of like full bodied sort of croony thing sometime around Tomboy, and I've kind of never retreated from that position.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Now, I have a question for you both that you may have seen pop up in the various different forums and stuff, but on the newspaper that was put out as a promotional thing, right down at the bottom, there is what people are dubbing your fursonas. Are we going to see more of the fursonas in the future?
Who did, was it Lucas who made that?
He did the drawing. I did the script, and he did the drawing.
Oh, nice.
Right. Yeah. They're quite hard to do, actually, to come up with a good, amusing little punchline. I thought about trying to do more, but I mean, I'm not a comedian, so it's not my go-to, which is why it's fun for me to try and do those things. And
You're funny.
I can't claim that it's a totally original joke either. It's been repositioned from a previous, but yeah, it's I mean, I enjoyed doing it. People really liked it. It was a fun thing to put on the magazine as well, I think.
Who did the our faces that were just kind of blinking endlessly? Do you remember those?
Yeah, that was a girl who she made little gifs of my face for all things being equal.
Oh,
cool. Then when we did reset, I was like, asked if she would do both of our faces so we could use them. But yeah, that was back when we were using social media more.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not going to see like the full animated movie of these characters?
No.
Maybe
It'll be Saturday morning TV, Saturday morning cartoon.
Yeah, that'd be sick.
It would actually be a really fun project, but and to actually do the music for it as well. I mean, I kind of like doing these off-piste things like that. I have to say that they're just sort of interesting and fun to do. I mean, we've been doing stuff for radio where we've been making old school style radio idents and using the vocoder, singing them instead of just reading out what they give us, which is what they ask us to do.
This is Panda Bear and Sonic Boom.
Delivering them a little mini pocket symphony of the same thing. And it takes a bunch of work, but I have to say it's a lot of fun doing it, and I think it has a really nice. It's something really different that other people don't do. So it's always fun to do these extra things, I think.
Now, our show here is a musician and a filmmaker, and we talk about albums that we really enjoy, but we also talk about films that we really enjoy. And I'm wondering if either one of you have like a recommended pairing for this album, like film-wise.
Wow, damn.
Or like, maybe something that feels like it could be like tonally maybe match it.
This stuff.
It's an interesting. That's something I would have to think about, I think, for some time. But I can't imagine the film that would go through that range of emotions and vibes, and because I think the vibe shifts out all over the record. It's sort of shape shifting every time it turns a corner. It's a bit like Lisbon. Every time you turn a corner, it's like, well, this still looks like Lisbon, but it doesn't look like the bit of Lisbon I was just in. It's equally interesting, but in a different way. And I think that's maybe a bit of an analogy for the record is a bit like that. So I'm trying to imagine.
You never know what's around the next corner, and you're going uphill the whole time.
Yeah, I don't think it would be the Wizard of Oz or Sound of Music.
Aguirre, the Personally, God, Fitzcarraldo.
Personally, I feel like the Blair Witch Project kind of works, because that's one where you don't know what's around the corner. There's an impending sense of something being scary, but it starts off pretty lighthearted, but it ends kind of in a graveyard. So
It's so good, that movie.
Yeah.
it's so good. One of the best, honestly.
One of the best.
It works every time.
That's an
Could only-
all-timer for me.
Could only have been from a very specific moment as well, right? There's something about it now that you wouldn't buy into it in the same way. It was very clever. It was, I mean, understandably successful, but it was really fresh the way the whole thing was done. And of course, you know, it's faked out, of course, up the wazoo, but it's done in a convincing way that
It would be spoiled too soon now. So I think you're right. At the time, it was sort of like the perfect environment to kind of suspend people's belief.
Well, and it was the perfect time, too, for, like, the early internet, because if you were going to go and look up, is this real? Boom, they already had a whole viral marketing campaign ready for you to kind of buy into the lore.
Yeah, they were so smart and so slick about it.
And now they're just going to keep remaking the same movie ad nauseum. There's another one. Everyone get ready.
So future plans, are we going to see, I know, Noah, I believe in an interview you mentioned that there's another PB album on the way, as well as a live Sinister Griff Band LP coming out?
Yeah, we recorded at the Power Station in New York just under a year ago. It was like September last year. Deacon mixed it and recorded it, and should be coming out relatively soon, I think. I don't want to say exactly when. I don't know exactly when, to be honest. Even if I did. But yeah, working on new stuff always. Got a bunch of remixes and stuff coming out, and it might be a while before a proper album is out, but I'm working.
I have 2 LPs that were held back so we could put this out first because it's more important to me. But I have a library music LP, which is done with Daniel O'Sullivan, who plays many of the instruments on this record. The great multi-instrumentalist, helped us out massively. That's him you hear, not the Everly Brothers, for example.
He probably should be on the front cover, to be honest. He plays on everything.
Well, it was cool that you guys put like under the title of the tracks on the lyric sheet, like you put who the accompanying musicians are and what they played. I thought that was a cool sort of way, as opposed to like having to flip the back of the thing and read all the notes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they were all an important part of it, no question. But I have that, and I have an LP with Peaking Lights, a collaborative record with them that we did in 10 years ago. And for one reason or another, it is only finally coming out now. Different stuff sort of came between it, and there were some plans to try to do other things with it that I felt from the moment that we recorded it, it was ready to go. And anyway, finally that's coming out as well. Yeah, I think we're both in. I mean, it feels good to be here in Portugal, and I feel for both of us it's been a very creative period, and we've both been putting out an album every year or two since the last 6 or 7 years. So that's pretty, and plus all the remixes and stuff. So yeah, I think we're both in good form.
Should we expect any more iterations of this material, like with Reset, with the dub remixes and the mariachi stuff?
We haven't really talked about it. All of those things kind of came about organically. There wasn't like a master plan in the beginning, but I don't know. I guess we'll see. If something feels right, we'll go for it for sure.
It would have to be something, really interesting me. And would the whole album sound amazing if it was redone by Adrian Sherwood? It would, no question.
For sure.
I was pleased we were doing an interview with someone a couple of weeks back, and they said they'd just spoken to Adrian Sherwood, and he said he thought it was his best work in 10 years or more. And I was like really heartened to hear that he felt the same way about it. I mean, I wasn't particularly comparing it to the rest of his work in the last 10 years, but I knew he'd just like knocked it out of the ballpark. I know Noah as well, really
I
loved
love
it.
it.
And then the mariachi thing again, it sort of came from, it had its roots in Tropical Cancer, really, where I always liked the thought of, the first time I really encountered mariachi was around then, or maybe just before then. And when we were doing that song, it just really struck me. I would love to hear a mariachi take on that song. I just thought it would be so beautiful. So that idea had always maintained. And then I sort of felt when Noah was sending me his songs in a reset, I felt they were just like standards coming in. I could just tell the quality of the song was, because when he originally sent them to me, they didn't have most of the adornment that ended up on percussion and little bits and pieces. They were just to a basic lute. And I have to say, you were sold straight away on it. It was already there, really. You could just release them like that, just that minimal version. They still had so much. So it was kind of like the idea of doing it with mariachi, taking these songs that I felt could transform into almost any genre because of the strength of the songwriting. It was just, it was just a fun project to try it and see. And we didn't even talk to Domino about doing that. I was just like, we're going to be in Mexico City. We have the hookup. The guy, he does sound with us and does engineering for me, is Mexican. And he was coming with us to Mexico. And he had a friend who had just been working with mariachi musicians in a studio that specialized in mariachi stuff. So I was like, oh, God, this couldn't be. We have everything came together in the right way. So we just did it to see what would happen. And then, it would have been awesome to have done the whole album with them. I mean, they did such a fucking great job on those two songs. It was just amazing. But I think you'd have to have the, maybe something will come up, but it really is going to have to not make sense in the same way that those make sense for us to get.
The death metal version?
Yeah, Noah, get to work on your screams.
No, somebody else is gonna do that. Somebody who knows.
We'll use Melodyne.
Right?
Yeah. Well,
yeah, good dude.
Whatever comes in the future, we're always looking forward to it. Goes without saying. I want to thank you guys for joining us. This has been a great chat. I've been loving the album. I think I told Jordan yesterday, I'm like, yeah, I got to prep for tomorrow. I'll listen to it for like the 17th time, and then, I'll be set. So, awesome. It's always, but, because of the fact that we're fans and we're always excited to see what's next, I will not be unfollowing either of you, despite owning 2 of the stickers. I'm going to keep an eye out because I'm always hungry for new stuff. And, when are you going to have an opportunity to get something as cool as this little Lucky Charm thing that I'm not even going to try to bother to get my camera to focus on? But it's always cool that you guys find not just a new angle musically, but a new angle to sort of engage the fans and keep them excited, as opposed to just, it's another new Panda Bear record, which I don't think I can ever say, because it's always going to be a big question of what it's going to sound like. So
the question of what?
We've been doing those puns for like 3 months now, so I'm glad that we can finally cap that off here.
It was all worth it.
We did think about doing a perfume, a cologne called A Question of Whiff.
And it can be a bust of Noah, cut off at the
That's Eric's
shoulders.
joke, not ours. I just want to give credit where it's due.
Awesome. Well, honestly, both of you are so inspiring as musicians and songwriters and as people as well. So I really have to say thank you, not just for taking the time to talk to us, but for all the music that you've given us over the years. It's truly something special. So keep doing what you're doing. It's magical.
Thank you guys. Thanks very much. Thanks for having us. And sorry about last week again.
Yeah, I was going to say congrats again because of that. It was like the best surprise that we could have seen. Like, why couldn't they have made it? And then we check Instagram. Oh, you got married. Okay, well, I can't get upset about that. That's awesome. So,
thank you.
Very joyous news.
Well, guys,
thank you guys.
Thanks
Have a good one there.
Thank you all, guys. Thank you again.
You as well. Take care.
Thanks for watching.
Yeah. See you later. See you. Ciao, ciao.
Bye, Pete.